Three, two. What's up, everybody? Lawson Turner back with another episode of the Cover 2 podcast now. Jim Harbaugh decided to sign with the Los Angeles Chargers last night in an interesting move that I was kind of expecting, with the Chargers being the best job available. You have them and Washington with similar, kind of similar rosters per se. One needs a quarterback, one has unlimited money, one's in cap hell. They both have good draft picks, but let's dive into the let's dive into the Chargers. They're $45 million over the cap. Not great, but not so much as the Saints, to where you can move off of these expensive players. You can move off of them and turn this team around in a very short amount of time. This is the last year of Justin Herbert's cheapness per se. This is the last year of his rookie deal before his super max contract, kicks in, which then it'll be harder to put talent around him, or expensive talent around him. You have Khalil Mack making $38.5 million a year. I would be shocked if he's on the team next year at that cap hit. Like, he had an outstanding year last year, yes, but for $38 million, you're out of your mind. Joey Bosa makes 36.6. Good player, aging, kind of injury riddled, and it sucks because him and his brother are so talented. Mike Williams making 32.4. I don't think receivers are. Let me take that back. Certain receivers, like a Tyreek Hill or a Jamar Chase or a Justin Jefferson, those receivers could be worth 30 million depending upon who you ask, and what GM is willing to pay that. Do I think Mike Williams is worth that? Probably not. And he's coming off a major injury too. That he started out great, had that awesome game against Minnesota, and then got hurt and missed the rest of the year. Keenan Allen making almost 35 million at 34.7 million. Once again, aging receiver, he's still great. Runs impeccable routes. Generates separation. Doesn't need plays designed for him to get open. He can just get open. But for 34.7, it's gonna be tough. It's gonna be tough to try and keep all these players together, being so much over the cap. On the bright side, though, they have the fifth overall pick in the draft, which we could see them getting a position of need. Like, they could use a tight end, but the great thing about the Chargers job is with this draft class, it's great in everything that you need in the NFL: edge rushers, quarterbacks, and offensive tackles. The Chargers already have those in Bosa and Mac, whichever one's on the team next year. I don't expect them to get off of both. I do expect them to get off one or restructure their deal, because with Mac being 33, 34, I think that at 38.5 million a year, that's not sustainable. Now, I could see them trading down to, like, let's say 11 with the Vikings, because the Vikings need a quarterback unless they bring back Kirk. But it's looking, as it stands today, it looks as if Kurt's on his way out the door. Now, dropping from 5 to 11, it's not the biggest drop talent wise. You maybe go from Brock Bowers to maybe picking up another receiver, depending upon if you come off of either Mike Williams or Keenan Allen. But this team's not. They're not. They're not 8 players away. They're maybe 4 and an outstanding coach, and they got the coach. Now they need players. They got to get younger. How do you get younger? You acquire more draft capital and then build your team through the draft. I could see this being a situation how, when Pete went from college back to the NFL in Seattle, he was killing it in the draft. Absolutely killing it in the later rounds. 4 through 7, he dominated for the first 3 years he was back in Seattle. And you saw it. They had arguably the best roster in the NFL, due to them being cheap and being awesome players. And I think Jim Harbaugh can find some diamonds in the rough, especially with him recruiting all of these players. And maybe he drafts a couple Michigan guys that he knows he can play, that he knows they can play in the later rounds. I think when you bring in an awesome college coach to the NFL, whatever team it is, the first 3 years they should dominate their draft because they know who can play. They recruited all of them. But with all that being said, they're in the AFC West. You have the Chiefs with Mahomes, Andy Reid, and whatever Kelsey decides to do. The playoffs aren't even over yet. We'll see if they can, if what changes they make, because the Chargers have already swung their bat and hit a home run in getting Jim Harbaugh. Then you go to Denver, who they'll have a new quarterback, and Sean Payton, who it should be more of what a Sean Payton offense looks like, because I think he'll get more of a point guard esque distributor this offseason, whether that be in the draft, whether he targets like a Bo Nix or a player like McCarthy who's sneaky athletic but is a run it to a T quarterback. You get him a system, you call good plays that Sean can call. I think if there is a system that JJ McCarthy could excel in, it could be like a Sean Payton offense. And then you have whatever Antonio Pierce is, or whatever that I shouldn't have said whatever he is, whatever he can make that Raiders team be, because the players adore him. You saw Max Crosby all over social media like we want to keep AP, and I think with a whole new year, with a whole year under his belt, we'll get more of an understanding because what do we know about whenever someone gets named as a interim head coach? It just happened with the Raiders 2 years ago. They got rid of John Gruden, brought in an interim head coach, and they were good for the rest of the year. They were competing, but every team gets a bolt of energy or start to show more enthusiasm when the head coach that they probably didn't like anyways leaves the building. I don't know. I think the Chargers. I think they'll make the. I think they could. I think they'll contend for a wild card spot, but it's gonna be tough. And the AFC's loaded. You have Joe Burrow coming back. Whatever the Bills are, you still have Ravens, Chiefs. You have the Dolphins. Aaron Rodgers coming back. Whatever he'll look like. Then you have a good franchise in whatever we do as the Steelers with our quarterback situation. I don't know. We'll see. I'm excited to see what energy Jim brings back to the NFL, and I think it won't be too long until their floor is the divisional round. That's what I think. Oh, and the Jags. That's another. And Houston too. Those are two other teams that I just forgot to think when talking about the AFC and how really deep it is because I just named off 8, 9 teams that are all right there. And the Colts, whatever Anthony Richardson can be. Yeah. Well, that's about it, guys. Thank you guys for watching, and I will see you guys in the next video. We're going to be breaking down the AFC and NFC championships, and I'll be making my predictions as who will represent each conference in the Super Bowl. Thanks.